Okay, this is March 27th and it's 2018. This is the entrance into Toroweap, 61 miles. And so we're going to be on BLM Road for probably about 50 miles before we get into the park boundary property. We're about 8 miles west of Fredonia. You can see the Colorado City Fredonia sign there. There's a nice big parking lot right here at the turnoff. Looks like some people are, for whatever reason, parking here. I don't know how or what they're doing, but the road's supposed to be pretty good. This is what it is like when we pull in. It looks like it's could get slick. We had a lot of rain on Friday, several days before this trip here, where we got a lot of rain. The BLM guy says that the road should be all dried out by now. We've had some wind, and it looks like it's going to be a good day. We've got 61 miles to go, so we're at mile 0 right here. Okay, we're about 11 miles in, and the road's still pretty good shape. I saw a video on YouTube where they said the road was fairly good like this 50 miles in. I'm going to continue to stop periodically. We've been on the road for a little over 15 minutes, about 19 minutes, and we're driving about 30 to 35 miles per hour. So it's going to take us a couple hours to get in. Just wanted to update you on the status of the road. Okay, we're about 15 miles in, and the road's still pretty good. We've got Verizon wireless on our cell phone, and we're starting to lose coverage. We're about down to a 1x. Don't know if it's because we're in a low spot, but reports I've seen is that you've got cell phone coverage kind of off and on throughout most of the trip in. But we're at 15 miles in, and road's still good condition, still driving about 35 miles an hour, and we're starting to get a little weak on cell phone coverage. Okay, we're about 30 miles in now, and we went through a few sections of the road where we were going through some higher elevation hills, kind of like off there in the distance, and the road was getting a little bit rough. There's more and more washboards showing up. Most of the time we're still able to drive about 30 miles per hour, but we've been finding ourselves slowing down to around 20, maybe even a little bit less in the rough spots. So we're about halfway in, and we get really good sections of road, and then we get some washboardy, rocky sections of the road. Nothing that a high clearance vehicle is needed. You could still drive a regular vehicle in here. It just would be bumpy. And again, I've got a 3/4 ton pickup truck, so the washboard and the bumps affect my truck more than it would somebody in a SUV vehicle. Okay, we decided at about 40 miles in we were going to unload. The road's still good, but we can drive faster on our ATVs. That's the Grand Canyon Parshin National Monument. So that's where we're going. This is an intersection from that direction, people coming from Colorado City, so that's one of the other ways of coming in here. We came from that direction, and you can see we're a mile marker 40. So this is what we're doing. There's my truck. It's a 3/4 ton diesel, and I was pulling a couple quads. We can easily average over 20 miles an hour. So we're gonna, from here, take the quads in and come back out and then load up and head back. But figure we've got about 21 miles in. It's the direction we're headed. Okay, so we've gone about 5 miles, so we're about 15 miles from the Overlook. This is down kind of in a valley here. We came from that way over there, and it looks like the road's still in really good shape. We're driving about 35, sometimes 40 miles an hour, and not having any problems with bumps or anything. If I was in my truck pulling my ATVs like I was earlier, I'd probably drive 25, maybe 30 in some spots, so we're making better time on our ATVs. We've had some people pass us. They've been in kind of conventional vehicles for this area. We've had a couple SUVs, we've had a couple Jeeps, had a couple people in like Toyota pickup trucks raised up a little bit. So they were driving a lot faster than I was. Then we saw a bunch of side-by-sides coming from the Colorado City side of things there at that junction where we unloaded. So anyways, this is an update, and road's in still really good shape. Okay, we're about 9 miles from Toroweap, and we started to kind of go up a hill here. The road is still pretty good, passable by almost any vehicle, but it's starting to get rougher. You can see a vehicle coming, looks like it's going maybe 20-30 miles an hour. I'm going 30 miles an hour on my ATV, and I think that's about as fast as I would go. I'm glad I parked and got on the ATVs where I did. The road's just been getting just a little bit worse as we go along, and there really isn't very many places to pull off to the side. So this looks like a GMC pickup truck, half-ton, and looks like he's going to maybe 20 miles an hour. And things are rattling pretty good. So onward. We just entered the Toroweap area. There's a sign back there, 50 yards or so. The road is definitely changing right here at this point, and we're about 6.5 miles from Toroweap. Still passable by passenger cars and vehicles like that, but definitely the road changed here. There's also a sign that talks about trailers over 22 feet long and no ATVs unless they're registered, things like that, which is a standard national park guidelines if you look those up. We just passed the ranger station. We got about 6 miles to go, and it's getting a little narrow, but it still looks like it's okay road. You can see the Grand Canyon off in the distance. The volunteer park service guy back there warned us that the vehicles we were in were not licensed for the road. And in Idaho, it's probably one of the only states they allow you to drive them on the road, but not on roads where the speed limit's 55 or over. So he understood the strange relationship. But in Arizona, you have to have a licensed vehicle in order to drive on these roads, including the BLM road. He said that there's a fine that if we get caught by a ranger in the park here, but he said that there wasn't anybody around today that should cause us any trouble. So there are restrictions, and if there's somebody manning that station back there, they'll stop you and talk with you, which he did. So that vehicle that passed us is kind of a Yukon type vehicle, and it's going up that hill there. It looks like pretty slow. Just past an area back there about 50 yards behind us where we could have dropped our trailer and unloaded back there, but the road is such that we're getting into this terrain now. We're about 3 miles from the rim. You wouldn't want to have a low clearance vehicle here. Well, we made it, and Couple more people back here. Brought in some ATVs or UTVs. Last 2 miles, definitely you want to have a high terrain vehicle.
Preferably not a truck.
Not much parking here. We're going to walk over to the rim here in a moment. Okay, we are right on the edge here. That's what 3,000 feet straight down looks like. I am not getting more than about 6 feet to the edge. Now we're going to do a selfie. Oh yes, there it is. Is that the lava falls?
It is.
I think it is, yeah.
Kind of looks like it, doesn't it?
Yep. It looks like coal deposits to me, but I'm from back east.
Got some little lizard friends here too, huh?
There are. You got your smile for me again.
Did I just miss one?
There's one right
Yeah,
there.
somewhere, dear. He's in good shape.
Yeah, he's kind of on the edge. You see him there?
No.
He's right by that bush, right at where that dead
Was it a
deadish
lizard?
bush.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just a
little
little
baby
one.
lizard or a little tiny one.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay.
Wildlife.
Wildlife.
Yeah.
That and the chipmunk.
I'd rather see a lizard than having a scorpion coming up my leg.
There you go.
That's for sure. I think it's too cold for the scorpion.
Well, let's just keep telling ourselves.
I was younger and a lot more stupid. I'd climb down on those ledges and get better pictures.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, now we're looking east and extend this out a little bit. "3,000 feet straight down." There's the Colorado River right down there. 3,000 feet. Gotta be so careful. And I'm not going out on that ledge.